nobody could tell me any different that I was going to, make it in professional wrestling.
What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC. In this throwback interview, we chat with the phenomenal AJ Styles. This was conducted in October 2013, right after he won his final TNA World title at Bound for Glory against Bully Ray. He also just successfully defended the world title against Bully Ray on Impact Wrestling, and just a couple months later, he would leave TNA Wrestling. He would go on to New Japan Pro Wrestling and become a two-time IWGP Heavyweight Champion with a little group by the name of the Bullet Club, en route to a legendary WWE run that saw him become world champion twice over. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this phenomenal throwback interview. What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of the Sports Courier. I am joined by a world champion, not just any world champion. He is the TNA Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. No matter what Dixie Carter wants you to believe, he is the phenomenal one and one of the best wrestlers in the world. And I ain't just saying that because he's on the line. That is a fact. Look it up. He is AJ Styles. AJ, thanks so much for the time, man. I know you're on the road. I know you got a lot of things going on. How's everything going?
You know what? Couldn't be better. I got to say, if there's any world heavyweight champion out there, I am the one that's actually legit. I actually am taking the TNA World Heavyweight title, and I'm defending it around the world.
You are, and I believe this weekend you're actually going to Mexico under the AAA banner and facing Macias.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, this is what a world champion's supposed to do. This is what was meant to do especially back in the day. A world champion would go on the road, not just in the United States, but all over, and defend his world heavyweight title. And that's exactly what I plan on doing. I think this is the way it should be done. Yeah,
and Macias is a tough dude. He was in TNA for a little while, man. I thought they definitely could have done more with the dude. That guy is scary.
No, he's no joke. I think the only reason why we stopped using him at the time was because he had got an injury, a serious injury. But the guy's tough, man. He does some crazy stuff. So, yeah, he's going to be a handful, no doubt about it.
And you are one of the best wrestlers in the world, have been for the last decade. But is there trouble adjusting sometimes even now when you go to another country and wrestle a different style, such as Mexico and Japan?
Well, I think that's the great thing about TNA is that, you had a lot of guys from different countries. And so that, so many styles were, so different. But you got to be able to adapt to wrestle some of these guys. And I feel like that's one of my strong points is that I'm able to adapt no matter where we go.
Yeah, and you were able to adapt this last year. It's been kind of a crazy year. Fans didn't know whether to boo you, whether to cheer you. Some people thought you were on Aces and Eights side. Some people thought you were on the Main Event Mafia side. You ended up being, only on the Phenomenal One side. And you recently, of course, won the TNA World Heavyweight Championship again against Bully Ray at Bound for Glory. What's this last year been like for you?
It's been weird. I think weird not only for me but for everybody. Like you said, they didn't know whether to cheer me or to boo me. But the one thing is just, you just go through some strange times and you got to figure out who you are. And it took some time, but I figured out that, I'm the man that is the world heavyweight champion. That's who I need to be. I need to act like it. I need to go after it. And I need to pursue it. And, it was just a battle just to figure out who I was. And I think everybody's been there before. And I don't blame the fans. It was never anything against the fans. It was all me and what was really, making me mad and pissing me off. And it was the way that things are ran at TNA. There's just a lot of stuff that, I didn't agree with in the beginning and don't agree with now. And that leads me to where I am now, taking the TNA World Heavyweight title, my title. Dixie liked to think it's hers, but she didn't win it. She just bought the thing. But I won it, so I'm claiming it as my own. And going in and defending it the way it should be against guys who deserve a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, is there anybody in particular? I mean, obviously, I'm sure Macias is one of the people on your list. Is there anybody outside of TNA that you think deserves to be at that world title level and be competing with you?
Well, there's a number of places that I need to go and defend that world heavyweight title. I mean, I'm sure Ring of Honor's got some guys. I'd like to go up there and see who wants a shot. But also I'd like to go to Japan and challenge some guys over there or have them challenge me for the world title. I mean, I don't mind defending it. I'm willing to put it on the line. That's what it's for.
Yeah, and you mentioned in one of your promos when you were going off on Dixie and TNA about how they missed the boat on a lot of guys. And I think one thing, too, that we haven't seen from TNA is talent exchanges lately. I mean, of course, you're going to AAA, and we've seen TNA guys who are on Dixie's good side go to AAA and New Japan Pro Wrestling, but not as much anymore. You know what I mean? You don't see guys like Hiroshi Tanahashi and Okada coming to TNA. Do you think TNA would benefit from doing more talent exchanges?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, if you're going to be able to use a guy, then absolutely there are styles that are different. That when you go to Japan, Mexico, it's all different. And sometimes, those styles don't work in the States as they do, Mexico or Japan. You got to give the people what they want. Some guys are able to do that. Like, for instance, like Muda, he's been able to do that for years. He's a guy from Japan that's able to do the American style, the Japanese style. He can do it all. He's a legend. And there's guys from Mexico, of course, like Rey Mysterio and guys like that who've been able to come and do Psychosis. Dr. Wagner, in Japan, from Mexico to Japan. Some of these are going to translate to U.S. entertainment. Some of them won't. So you got to be careful about who you bring over because obviously you want to put on a good show.
Right. Now, a lot of people are wondering your status, and the reason I ask is because you took that fancy car that Dixie Carter gave you, but technically you rejected the gift at the beginning of Impact. So I want you to set the record straight here. Did AJ Styles commit Grand Theft Auto?
You know what? She said it was mine, and I just figured I'd give it a shot and take it down the road and see what happens. Tell you the truth, I'm not a Camaro guy anyway, so the car doesn't actually work for me. I don't know why she thought a Camaro would be up my alley, but whatever. If she would have came out with a crotch rocket or something like that, now, we may have talked about a little something, but that didn't happen. She came out with a Camaro. I did give it a test drive, and while I had some horsepower, it's nothing compared to a crotch rocket.
Yeah. And you've had a wonderful career over this last decade or so, particularly in TNA. A lot of people don't realize that you were actually there in WCW in the dying days. A little-known tag team called Air Raid with Air Paris made a few WCW appearances. Were you there at the end?
I was. I mean, I wasn't there at the end show. I wasn't there for that, but I did wrestle at the end. I have a grand total of probably about 5 matches under contract with WCW, and I didn't know what was going on. All I knew was that I was wrestling for WCW, and I was happy. But I did see a lot of guys taking pictures with the crew and stuff like that. And so I kind of knew something was up. Like, this may be the last WCW that I'll be on, and it was.
Yeah, it was about a year and a half before TNA started, and of course you became the face of TNA for years to come. When WCW died, and you couldn't come to terms with WWE, and then you saw what they did with WCW, which was really not much. Was a young guy like you deflated at all because of the fact that all of a sudden ECW's gone? WCW, where you think you're finally going to get your big break after all your hard work, is gone. Japan wasn't the same. What was your mindset at the time prior to TNA forming?
Well, I was going to make a life out of wrestling for me. I was going to find a way to make this my job. And if it was going to Japan for a couple of years and perfecting my craft, and that's what I was going to do. Nobody could tell me any different that I was going to, make it in professional wrestling. So I was going to find a way to make it. And it sucks that ECW and WCW were gone, but if you want to wrestle, you got to get out there and bust your butt and make a living, and sacrifice a lot. And I was willing to do that, but luckily, TNA started up.
Yeah, and you're a guy that developed on the indies, along with a guy like Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, Chris Sabin, all the great wrestlers under the Impact Wrestling banner. But unfortunately, there's some people in power these days and numerous companies that think that certain guys, just because they're bred in this place or that place, don't really know how to work. You've been on the independent scene last couple of weeks. Now that you're the TNA World Champion, you've been around the world. Is it safe to say that there's still a high talent level out there?
There's still a talent level, absolutely. I do think that things will change when you get to the next level. It has to change. There's a different way of wrestling, and there's an independent way, and then there's another level. And you got to learn it. It is a little. If I went back, I think years ago, and watched one of my matches, which I thought was perfect, it was great, I'd be disappointed in that match now. stuff changes, you realize how to work smarter and really tell the story that needs to be told rather than going out there and do senseless bumps without meaning.
How's your body feeling these days? Because you've taken some crazy bumps in the past.
It's not so bad. I do take a lot of crazy bumps, but, at this point in my career, they're going to mean something when I take them. And, I don't heal as fast as I used to. It's going to take me a couple more days, longer than it used to. But, I can still do it, man. And when I can't, I think that my time's up.
That's right. And the calf killer, that's an awesome finishing move. That's the kind of like the calf slicer that Charles Oliveira pulled out in UFC. When did you discover that move and start making it part of your arsenal?
Well, I collegiate wrestled in high school, and there's moves that are very similar to jiu-jitsu, but used in very different ways. But my brothers took to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I took a little bit of myself and messed around. They showed me this little move called it was, like you said, a calf killer, and then they actually call it the calf cutter. And it's a excruciating pain. If you've ever been in one before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I've always wanted a submission. It's just trying to find the right one. And this one no one ever seen before, and it worked out perfect for me. I mean, if you've ever been in it before, it's legit.
That definitely is. I've rolled a couple times, and yeah, things haven't always gone my way. Are you an MMA fan at all?
Sure am. I think any man out there has got to be an MMA fan. I believe if MMA would have been as popular as it was when I came out of high school and college, that would have definitely been the route that I would have went.
We got GSP coming up. He's defended his title against Johnny Hendricks. You got Anderson Silva trying to regain his title against Chris Weidman. Do you think by the end of the year we're going to see a changing of the guard in the UFC?
A changing of belts, or
I guess technically belts and the guard, because I mean there's people talking about how if GSP loses to Hendricks, maybe he'll go into acting since he's done pretty much everything.
I don't think so. I think GSP he's a competitor, and it's not just acting. I think he enjoys being out there and he loves competing. And I mean that's what a winner does. They compete. Everything, and it may be acting for him, but it'd be hard for me to believe that GSP, if he lost, and I doubt he will, because the guy is incredible, will go into acting, maybe do a couple things, but I think fighting is what he loves to do. And I think Silva is probably going to win his title back. I think if he hadn't lollygagged and tried to put on a show for the people, and he wouldn't have got knocked out the way he did. But, things happen.
Yeah, that was definitely crazy and one of the biggest upsets in MMA history. How cool is it to be a part of a network like Spike TV all these years that's been closely associated with MMA?
It's pretty cool, man. I've been to Bellator fights, and they're, some of the best fights I've ever seen. These guys bring it. They know that it's pretty much all on the line, and they got to do what they can to make their face be known, whether it be bloody or someone else's. Man, they're going to go out there and put on a show, because who knows when the next time they'll get to fight again on that big of a stage. So I can respect that these guys going out there and just killing each other.
And UFC President Dana White has mentioned in the past that he thinks boxing and the UFC can coexist without really hurting each other, even though they're technically competing for the same pay-per-view dollars. Do you think pro wrestling and MMA can as well, or do you think MMA has actually hurt pro wrestling over the years?
No, I mean, I think that they all can coexist. They're all totally different if you think about it. I mean, pro wrestling is entertainment, and I mean, they're all forms of entertainment, but they're all different. I mean, MMA, I think, is great because, because I enjoy it, but I also enjoy boxing because it's something different. It's, they're all the same, but they're all different. I know I'm confusing you here, but, with boxing, the way that HBO builds up their fights is unbelievable. I think they do a better job than anybody right now. UFC, sometimes I don't know who's champion anymore. There's so many fights happening. At least in boxing, there's a couple months in between these matches. With UFC, it seems like there's always a fight going on, so I lose track of who's the champ. And then with pro wrestling, you're getting it on. You can get it on, Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I mean, and probably more than that. So I think there's benefits to everybody in the fact that, pay-per-view dollars, yes. I think the thing that's damaging pro wrestling, MMA, boxing, is people getting it for free. I think that's the people that we're fighting against the most is trying to find ways of keeping people from getting it for free.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned...
I think that's our biggest competitor.
And for free, do you mean pirating, or do you mean just there's a lot of free content on TV and they got to do a better job of making that content on pay-per-view being special? Okay, pirating.
Oh, yeah, that pirating. I mean, because you can get on the computer and you can find these fights for free and these matches. And, so I think that's the biggest thing that's went around for the pay-per-views is that so many people get these for free now. But
to be fair as well, to play just devil's advocate for a second, like I watched, the Impact you were on with Bully Ray for the world title. I ordered Bound for Glory on Sunday. I covered it on this site. And then 4 days later, they book you versus Bully Ray for the world title again when it was just, the pay-per-view main event. Now, granted, it had some, chicanery with Ken Anderson and all that, but still, it's literally 4 days after, people paid for that pay-per-view. And then likewise, you'll get, this past Monday on Raw. I mean, some would say that Raw was better than the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view the night before. Do you think that maybe TNA and maybe more so WWE, since they're running more pay-per-views, that they needed to do a better job of making pay-per-views feel more special and perhaps limiting what they give fans on free TV?
I don't think there's any doubt about that. Although you did not see the same match, it was no disqualification match in the Bound for Glory match where the one we had on Thursday, was not. So a little difference there. There were no going through tables or anything crazy like that and pulling the ring apart. So it was a little different, but I wouldn't give a main event match like that the next day. But you can blame Dixie Carter for that.
Okay, I'll be sure to do that, sir. We mentioned WWE. Have you been keeping an eye on your competitor's product?
Every once in a while, I do find time to watch it. I do.
What are your thoughts on Daniel Bryan's rapid rise to the top?
I think it's great. I think he's one of the better wrestlers in the business today, and he deserves every accolade that he gets, every title. I think, I have the utmost respect for Daniel Bryan.
Now, who's somebody that you feel like hasn't gotten a fair shot, past or present, that never really either got a run in TNA or WWE, somebody that you look at, that you wrestled over your illustrious career, that you're thinking, man, how the hell did nobody pick up this guy? How did he never become an AJ Styles or a Daniel Bryan or a CM Punk?
Well, there's a guy that would come with the crew that, with the Samoa Joes and all those, Chris Daniels, all those guys, Evan Bourne, Delirious. I've often wondered why I wasn't able to get him down to TNA or the opportunity to get signed, or why he wasn't signed at WWE. This guy, I think, has an awesome character. He's built it well. He knows exactly who it is. I would love to have this guy, and I know that this might not be the guy that everybody's thinking of, but it's a guy that's always entertained me. And so I think that he's able to do that on any level. He should be signed somewhere doing Delirious.
Definitely talented. I've had the pleasure of seeing him live, and from what I heard, a pretty damn good booker, too.
Yeah, that he is.
All right, we got some fan questions here. If you got a few minutes just to answer those real quick before I let you go. Cool. All right, first one comes from Classic Duttonized. AJ, you've wrestled pretty much everyone. Is there somebody left on your list who would be a dream opponent for you?
Wow. That's a hard one. Obviously, there's people in the other company that I'd love to wrestle. I think that we'd have great matches. But there's a guy I've always wanted to have a one-on-one match with. I don't know if I'll ever get that opportunity before he retires, but Rey Mysterio would be one of those guys that I think that I could tear the house down with. I think it'd be a very entertaining match. But will that happen? Who knows?
Is there anybody from the past that's no longer with us or now retired that you would have loved to wrestle?
Eddie Guerrero was one of those guys. I would like to get in the ring with him and learn from him. I thought that we had a very similar style, so it'd been fun.
All right, let's see right here. You've worked with a number of legends in the game: Sting, Hulk Hogan, just to name a few. Who's been your favorite legend to work with? Oh, and Ric Flair as well, of course. He managed you.
Right.
Who's your favorite to work with?
You know, it's hard to say. I mean, I've been in the ring with Dusty Rhodes, Larry Zbyszko. You know, they all have their different styles of doing things. But I've always learned from those guys, and that's what it's all about for me. But I do have a good time when I wrestle Sting, just because he's an icon, as we all say. So I think I've been in the ring with him a couple times, and it's always been fun.
You've had a lot of great matches. Is there anyone you could pick out that you would say is your best match?
Oh man, that is so tough. I have so many matches that I'm proud of. Obviously the Christopher Daniels matches and Samoa Joe matches. Even when we've done three-way matches with those guys, but also Abyss and the Lockdown when I main evented, and so many different matches. I can even shoot Ring of Honor out there. I've had so many great matches there as well. I've had them in Japan, against Low Ki. So there's so many matches, it's hard to nail down just one.
You mentioned Low Ki. He recently announced his retirement because he wrestled Akebono, of all people, and got his ribs crushed. And I guess that injury's putting him out for 6 to 8 months. And according to his Facebook, All Japan isn't covering the medical expenses. For people that don't really know Low Ki all that well, or maybe just know him from his brief run in NXT as Caval, how big of a loss is he to the wrestling business?
I think it's a huge loss. If you've ever seen Low Ki wrestle, he's unbelievable. He's very entertaining. He's totally different than any other character we've ever seen. And it's a huge loss for wrestling. I hope he didn't retire. I hope that he was just mad and it was emotional when he said it, because I'd be pissed too if I found out the company wasn't going to pay for my injuries. So I hope this isn't the end of Low Ki.
Yeah, me too, man. Hopefully it's just a Terry Funk retirement, as they say. All right, this one right here. Who is the funniest person backstage you've ever met?
It'd probably have to be Eric Young. This guy is just hilarious. I don't know if you've ever met someone who doesn't know how not to be funny. That anything and everything they do is it's hilarious. He could be a stand-up comedian. The guy has his own show because he is that entertaining. I don't know if he's ever been fishing in his life until he was on the show Off the Hook. But he made that show. It was amazing, and this guy's hilarious. I think, on top of that, he's a great athlete. He's a good wrestler too.
Very, very good. Yeah, I think he's really underrated, honestly. Everybody always calls him just this comedy guy, but even before he started doing all the comedy, I mean, that dude can work.
I've worked him several times. I'm telling you, he can work.
Heard it from the man himself. Okay, I don't know if this is a serious question, but I'll ask it to you anyway. With Dixie Carter threatening legal action, have you thought about enlisting the services of Joseph Park Esquire?
I guess I could. I don't know where he stands as he's a TNA guy. I mean, he's a contracted wrestler, so I don't know exactly how that'd work out for me. But as far as her suing me, I guess over the title because I took it. Well, so be it.
All right, you already mentioned that you would have gone into MMA if it was as popular as it is now back when you first started pro wrestling, but if you didn't have MMA, what would you have gone into?
Other than wrestling, it's hard to say, man. I've always said that I may have been a cop or something like that, but truth is, I don't know. I don't know. It's just it's a difficult question. I wasn't a guy. I did go to college, but I wasn't going to be a physical education teacher like I thought I was going to. That's not what I was going to do. I know it. So yeah, who knows where I'd be right now without professional wrestling.
Did it piss you off when Michelle McCool stole your finishing move, or did it just make you laugh?
It did not piss me off. It's if you're going to be, who stole whose move, Crash actually stole it first. And then everybody forgot about it being in WWE, and then Michelle got it. It doesn't bother me at all. It's a move that I came up with, and the fact that they think it was cool enough to do on TV is good enough for me.
Who in TNA right now do you think is finally ready to break out? I'm assuming, I guess they mean somebody that hasn't been in main events and hasn't been at the world title level like yourself.
I don't think that's a question for me. I think that's a question for the audience. I think, they got to be the one to tell you who they are ready to step up and be a next, world champion or a main eventer. I'm not sure who that next guy will be. But it's not up to me. I think there's several talented wrestlers that could make that jump. But in the end, it comes down to the fans.
All right, I think this is a good one to end on. AJ, what advice would you give me as an aspiring pro wrestler?
Be a sponge. It's all about experience. And I know that you're going to have to travel 4 hours for probably not even enough gas money. But it's all about experience. You're going to have to do that. Everybody who's done it can tell you that they've become better wrestlers because they wrestled a guy that may have not been better than them, but they figured out how to react to the crowd or how to have the crowd react to them. This is entertainment, and you got to get out there and you got to figure out what works for you and what works for the fans, and learn from everybody you ever get in the ring with.
Well said from one of the best himself. AJ, I really appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much. Before we go, where can fans find you online to keep up with the AJ Styles World Tour?
Well, you can definitely go to my website, ajstyles.org. Also, my Twitter, it's the same thing, ajstyles.org. And I'll keep you informed.
Very nice, very nice. Good luck over the weekend at AAA. Are you defending the title, or is it a non-title match?
Oh, no, I'm putting it up. I'm defending the title.
Oof, man.
See, nobody else gets to decide who, TNA doesn't get to decide whether or not I defend it. I do. So I don't plan on going to Mexico without defending it.
Very nice, very nice. Going all in. I dig it. AJ, thanks so much, man.
All right, brother. Take care.